Looking for a fun way to win up to 25 times your money this basketball season? Test your skills on Prize Picks, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projection for a wide variety of stats, and place your entry. It's as easy as that. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $250 with just a few taps. Easy gameplay, quick withdrawals, and injury insurance on your picks are what make Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Ready to test your skills? Join the Prize Picks community of more than 7 million players who have already signed up. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit up to $100. Just visit prizepicks.com/get100 and use code GET100. That's code GET100 at prizepicks.com/get100 for a first deposit matchup to $100. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy.
Welcome to the 12th episode of Meet the Mancunian podcast. This is the season finale for the first season. I hope you enjoyed meeting all the amazing guests I've featured on the podcast so far, and I hope they provided you with some real insights into how you could do something similar in your local community wherever you are based in the world. Season 2 launches on the next Tuesday. That's the 29th of March 2022. Please do ensure you're subscribed on Apple, Google, Spotify so you never miss an episode. If you're enjoying the Meet the Mancunian podcast, do consider rating it and leaving a short review on Apple Podcasts. And now, back to the 12th episode. Every week, I aim to introduce you to an interesting Mancunian from this culturally diverse city, Manchester. We hear from ordinary people making an extraordinary impact. Presented by Deepa Thomas Sutcliffe, newbie Mancunian. Tune in every week for a new episode. Looking to support the elderly? In this episode, we hear from Marie Greenhalgh, founder of Wythenshawe Good Neighbours, a charity that helps older people get connected to their community. I'm delighted to introduce my guest, Marie Greenhalgh, founder of Wythenshawe Good Neighbours. Thank you, Marie, for joining me today.
Good morning, and thank you for inviting me.
Thank you so much. How did you find your passion for working with the elderly?
It's a conniving story, this one. I've worked in education, I've worked with young people, and my job was to inspire young people to make good decisions post-16 education. So whether that be university or further training or whatever. But I was coming off an assembly stage, having been inspirational, I thought, to year 11 pupils. And this lad shouted, "Hey, miss, from behind you look 16, but from the front you look like my granny." And I suddenly thought, they're not going to take me seriously. If I look like someone's gran, how can I be inspirational to them? So perhaps I need to be in an age group where I can inspire. And anyway, the university I worked at made redundancies. I was one of them. I'd also just finished a master's in writing for radio and TV, and I thought perhaps this was my chance to now write, and sort of just do things in the community. And I was running alongside that. My dad was very active in the community. He was a retired head teacher, very involved in the church, and wouldn't be considered old. He wouldn't take a discount for being old. I remember he said he'd gone to the barbers, and the barbers was going to give him discount. And he said, "My head is the same size as it was when I was a young man, and I will pay that price." So very much not going to be old. Wouldn't go to anything labelled old. So I saw a job for a part-time good neighbour manager, which I did for a while. But while I was doing that, I realised that my own community needed the same service. And we were getting lots of referrals from my own community. So I'd been made redundant. So I was sort of living off a bit of redundancy and choosing what work to do. And I just said to my husband, I'm going to start my own good neighbour group because it's needed here. And he said, well, if it doesn't work out in a year, you'll have to get a proper job. Well, I never got a proper
like
job.
husbands do.
I never got a proper job. I stayed doing it. So it went from, so that was my, as a background, as my dad was a very young, older person, wouldn't be considered old. And then I looked at what I was doing, was thinking, I've still got energy and motivation, but I'm doing it to the wrong audience. I need to be doing it to younger, older people, and sort of, I don't consider myself old. I'm 66, but I don't consider myself old. I wouldn't want to go to anything labelled with old in a description, or elderly or older, because I still have the same interests and passions that I've always had. I want to continue those in older age. So yeah, I started just an afternoon tea on a Sunday once a month. 10 years ago, and now we've got a massive membership. We've been going all the way through COVID, and we're still quite strong. Yeah,
that's amazing. So you've told us a little bit about how we started with Ensure Good Neighbors, but maybe a little bit more about what with Ensure Good Neighbors do, because there might be listeners around the world who are not familiar with work.
So we're very much embedded in the World Health Organization, creating age-friendly neighborhoods. And it's a big, long piece of work, but it's sort of, it straddles three pillars. So the first one is about connection, about connecting people to their community, and organizations to the community and people. And the second pillar is creating platforms to amplify the voices of older people, their opinions, things that matter to them. And then the third pillar is positivity around aging. So that's sort of like what Ensure Good Neighbours is built on. And also we're sort of like very much about being led by our older group of people, asking them what it is that services, statutory services aren't doing. What is it that's not accessible in your neighbourhood? Where are the gaps? And we try and fill that. And so it became a sort of an opportunity to be creative and to socialise. We realised that there was a lot of value in eating in company, having that chat, having that connection, having that anticipation every week that you're going to go somewhere, get dressed up, meet somebody, make an occasion of it. And sometimes all that process was perhaps more important than the food they were eating. It was just being with those people. But we always made sure we valued our guests, and we made sure they had good food. And we started to, I did this with my two sons actually to begin with, who had full-time jobs. I just sort of like pulled them out at weekends and evenings to lift heavy things and help me. But it grew. And so from the afternoon tea on a Sunday, it became, coffee mornings and lunches. And then 5 years in, I was in enough position to employ somebody. So I employed Sam, who's still with us today. And during COVID, we employed somebody else because our membership grew and grew and grew. So what we do really is we are creators of opportunities for you to be creative and to socialise. So, but within that sort of gift to our community, we're also showing the ways they can help themselves and help others. So it's not about us putting on art classes. We just find out who's interested in different things, and they sort of start it themselves. So during COVID, when it was safe, we had members in each other's gardens doing watercolours and sketching. We had like book lending. So we created a newsletter during COVID so that we had a solid message about what they should be doing as older people, rather than listening to the family who just wanted to shut them up and keep them safe. That there were options. You didn't have to stay in. Under some circumstances, you could go out, you could socialise in small groups. And also we made them entertaining. We put competitions in them and recipes and interviews with community leaders and stuff like that. So now we've actually, because of COVID, we have turned into something completely different. And now we're sort of still about the social, we're still about the connection, and we're very much about the positivity, but we just do it in different ways. So we have the newsletter. When it's delivered, the volunteer will knock on the door, gauge how that person is doing. We also have a gift. We've got a team of bakers who bake for us, so we take a cake, and never underestimate the power of cake. You know, that has taken us so far during COVID, and we've got these wonderful women who bake, and they bake as their profession, and they bake especially for us, or they give us over bakes, but it's beautiful. And it shows us again that we value them, that we're not giving them something that's nearly out of date, or oh, this will do for you. You know, we value you, and we value your opinion, and we can only do what we do when you share that with us, so we know what's needed. So during COVID, we actually created a resilience toolkit, a resilience pack, made from the conversations and the input of 32 older community members who formed an advisory group. And we've got this fantastic resource. I'll show it you later, but you know, on video. Yeah, so it's a fantastic resource that sort of tells them how to find. One of the things they were saying to us during COVID was, you know, you're on your own when you're in isolation. That's what it means, you're on your own. So you've got to find something deep inside to keep you going. And it was that journey of finding that resilience that they documented in this toolkit. So it was an absolute, you know, learning curve for all of us. And in fact, that project gave us the motivation to carry on, that above all, we cannot lose what we're doing, and we've got to try our hardest to get more funds in to, you know, to carry on doing what we're doing. So I could be here all day talking about it. So that's sort of so it's around social eating creativity. So we do lots of coffee mornings and lunches, and if you're on our list for a newsletter, we deliver a newsletter twice a month, and you get a cake, and you get anything else that's out there that other agencies want older people to see. So we often take packs of things with us as well. So yeah.
Sounds lovely. So who do you help and support, you know, when you say it's older people? Can you tell us a little bit about what the profile of that older people might be?
Okay, well, that's a really interesting question, because the profile of an older people is never ending, isn't it? Because World Health Organization say we're aging from 55 onwards. And so our cohort of older people span that up to 100. So we've got 5 decades of age groups, and so our approach cannot be one approach fits all. We've got to think about every one of them. So we've got younger older people who may be still working, or have lost their job, who have just been informed they're not getting their pension at 60, they're going at 66 or 67. And now they're in that gap where there's no real benefits for them because they live with a partner or a husband. So they're losing their independence. And one of our ladies said they've gone back to Victorian times, where you've got to ask your husband for money, or, you know, whatever it is you need. And then we've also got the older women that we're seeing in the news now, who weren't given the right pension, who were cheated out of many thousands of pounds. And so, you know, the Department of Work and Pensions have really done an injustice to women, you know, through the ages. So our older sisters were born in the 30s, 40s, 50s. And the national insurance and, you know, the days, the accrued days years you need to work to get pension have changed over that. And so we've got all sorts of different problems as we go. And then we've got health problems, and we've got limitations with mobility. And then we've got sort of like the end years where they're not going out, so they need more one-to-one phone calls, you know, visits or whatever. And we don't do this alone, because we do work with other groups, and we do work with social care agencies. And also COVID has changed the landscape of working in partnership, because I'm now sit on a board of senior managers as the representative of a volunteer-led group. So that wouldn't have happened pre-COVID. we wouldn't have been seen in the same light, that we have an experience and a qualification in the community that is valuable to organisations. So yeah.
Amazing. What impact would you say you've made so far?
Well, sometimes we stop and we sort of audit what we're doing, and we do ask that question. And mainly the response was that, particularly during COVID, we were the only organisation that stayed open and in contact and was visible within Wythenshawe for them. So most of them go to line dancing and art classes and other cultural offers that just stopped during COVID. And we've thought that we're working with older people, and it's not one of those statistics where you say 1 in 4 will be older. We're all going to get older. We're all on that trajectory. If we wake up every day, we're getting older. So we couldn't say, right, let's close shop until COVID stops, because older people were our business, our day to day. So really, we had to ramp up and be more visible and more that in the community for them. So yeah, I can't think of your question now. I forgot what you asked me.
The question was, what impact do you make?
So when we ask the questions about the impact, it's like, well, if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't have had anything. And it's nice to come out and socialize with people that and meet new ones. It's nice to have the little treats that we give them, and but also the main thing is they like to be part of research, they like to be part of development, and quite often we're asked to trial things with our group, like denture cream, or there was one thing with the Heart Foundation of Wythenshawe Hospital where they trialled a little app about an unusual arrhythmia that we can have, that can be found early doors, not causing any bother, but once they know you've got it, they can keep an eye on it in later years. So they're not just a group that receive, they're a group that give of their qualification, their world experience and their life. Yeah.
Amazing. How can interested people reach out to you or learn more?
Well, what we want to do at the moment is, Wythenshawe has many amazing things happening for older people. In fact, if someone had the time and the money and the effort, you could do a programme of something happening every single day and weekend, from food banks and clothes banks to line dancing to art classes to lunches, trips out. So there's something going on all the time. Yeah, what was I saying? Ask me the question again, sorry.
So how can interested people reach out to you or learn more? You might want to give out your website, social media.
Yeah. So what we're looking for really now is people to join us, to give us more input into how our organisation can help older people. So we are looking for people over 50, over 55, and whatever background, whatever age, to join Age Friendly Wythenshawe, which is a network of all the organisations that work in an age-friendly way. So we are looking for that. So that would be brilliant. If you've got a background in IT, or you're a personal trainer, or something about health and care, or you've been a secretary, so you could help us out with our secretarial duties. So all the things that make an organisation grow and buzz, those sort of solid foundations we're looking for in older people, because we need to establish an age-friendly Wythenshawe network that's a constituted group to support all the fantastic stuff that's going on in Wythenshawe. So I think at the moment we're going to start a campaign very soon to get people who are, copywriters, content, social media savvy, like finance, trust, trustee type people would be fabulous, but we want them to be older people. But also we are also trying to develop, as Wythenshawe Good Neighbours, a volunteer driving scheme. We're looking for people with time on their hands, just one day a week, a couple of hours, one day a week, where they can go on our rota, and we can have people who we can call up on a day and say, look, we need to take Mr. B or Mrs. B to the hospital. Our driving scheme is about health appointments primarily, because not going to a health appointment impacts on their health going forward, and also impacts on the public purse in supporting them. So if they can get to all the health appointments and keep as healthy as possible, then that's what we want to do. So we're looking for drivers to do that. But also, again, when we ask our group what is the benefit of this volunteer driving scheme, which came from them, it's like about the social aspect as well. Like a lot of them live on other sides of Windsor. Windsor's massive. It's like the size of Cardiff, you know, and it's intersected by a motorway and zigzagged by a tram line. And not all of them live near a tram stop or, you know, can drive anymore. So they would love to meet their friends who they've not seen for 2 years because of COVID, you know, like to just go and have coffee with them. And then practical things like they like to do their own shopping. They want to pick up and feel what it is that they're buying, you know, be it their underwear or, you know, flowers for the house or food, you know, fresh food they want to buy. So it's sort of the three things we want again from that driver is the health sort of hospital appointments and confidential appointments like going to the bank and stuff like that, and practical ones, shopping and, you know, meeting people, and then also social, meeting each other and coming out to the groups, you know, across Windsor, not just Windsor Good Neighbours, but across Windsor, getting lifts to them. So yeah, we've got a big shout out for anyone who wants to help us drive. Yeah.
Hope our listeners can help. Can I also ask you to just talk about your website and your social media?
Yeah. So we do have a website, Windsor Good Neighbours. Was great, isn't it? It says what it does. So so windsorgoodneighbours.com, and on there you've got all about us and what we do and timetables, and we've also got a little Twitter feed, so all our Twitter goes on there. So we do have a Twitter handle, which is let me just tell you. Yeah, so the Twitter is at WGN, which is capital letters _community. So that's our Twitter, and our website is windsorgoodneighbours.com.
Perfect.
Yeah, so we tweet as that, and then we've also got 2 members of staff who tweet as themselves as well on there. So we've got Sam Days and Catherine Wollstonecombe. So those are the 2 members of staff and myself that tweet on there. And we have a Facebook page as well. So Windsor Good Neighbours Facebook page. So you can reach out to us through any of those. You can DM us on there on any of those.
What advice do you have for people looking to start something similar in their local community, maybe in another part of the world?
I think one of the other positive things of COVID, if you can say that, is that we are looking at community in a different way. And community knows how to heal itself. Community during COVID helped each other, and they formed little support groups, and we saw that on social media where we had like COVID support groups, and they were great during that time, and they've sort of gone now because they're not as needed as much. We're getting our independence back, doing our own thing. So community sort of is a heartbeat that sort of beats and a different way in response to what's happening within the community. So I think organisations need to go into the community, and this is hard work, and this is why it's not done, and find their target group of people, whether it be older people or young people or unemployed people or whatever, and ask them, what is there in the community for you now, and what can you do for yourselves, and how can you help others, and what can we do as an organisation to fill that gap? So rather than saying, no, I've got a great project, let's do this project and take it to the community. If they've not asked them if it's needed or it's going to help them in any way, that project's a waste of money, and it won't be sustainable. It'll go down a big black hole, and you've lost a massive opportunity to connect with the community. So that's why we have our advisory group. And I use the analogy like if a community wanted to build a bridge to go from one part of the community to another, they would go back into their community and say, who can draw the bridge? Who can make that plan? And what kind of materials do we need? And we'll make a list of materials that we'd need. How big do we want this bridge to span? Well, we want it to span as short as possible because we don't want to be endangered in any way. So we want a sturdy, short bridge that will connect us. if you ask an organisation, they'd have to go to a panel, they'd have to go out and source the materials. They wouldn't always necessarily get the best they'd get for the budget. They would build a bridge that's around their their classification, not around what the bridge is for. And the bridge is just about people going from one part of the community to another part of the community, and that's their only agenda. They don't want posters on it. They don't use the bridge for anything else. It's just bridge from one place to another to take us over. So that's why communities should look, well, organisations should look into the community for the treasures that are there. You know, communities are treasure chests of artists, of poets, of, you know, people who are really interested in nature and climate change and keeping the place clean. Very much like Winshaw Waste Warriors. I think you've interviewed them. And that's the turnaround we have to do now, is say, you know, we are a big organisation funded by the government. Let's find out what is really needed in the community, and that's what we try to do. And I think that's what COVID has sort of made people look at, turn it on its head, really. Don't do anything with older people in mind without asking them, because I'll guarantee you, if you say, I think we're going to do this for Christmas, they'll go, no, it's not what we want. We want this, you know. Or we're going to go on a trip here, and they go, no, it's too far. We don't want to go there. We want to go where we can go comfortably with rest stops and stuff like that. So, you know, you have to ask your group, whatever it is you want to do in the community, how you can help them, and then fill the gaps, because actually communities are strong. They'll knock on the door to the neighbour, they'll go over the road, they'll look after themselves and help others. But there are some things they can't do, and that's where organisations need to come in.
Amazing. Thank you for that. I'm going to now move gears to what I ask called signature questions, which I ask all my guests. So what is it that you love the most about Manchester?
I love it because I've lived here all my life, and I've got loads of memories in Manchester. So every street that I walk down, I've got a memory of an age. You know, like, for instance, when we were little, my dad used to take us to Central Library, and we'd be bored rigid because we couldn't even read at that point, but we'd go to the Central Library, but be amazed by the books and being there. But on the way home, it would take us to a cafe called the Cardoma Cafe, and we'd have toasted tea cakes and tea, and we felt very grown up in this cafe, being asked what we wanted to eat. And so, you know, things like that. To one of my jobs when I was younger was I was in the police force. So my area of work was in the city centre. So I've got lots of memories of walking the beat in you know, in Manchester. I like to draw and sketch, and quite often I would sit in Manchester and sketch and draw the architecture. And that came from my dad telling me to always look up, never look down in a city. So that way I saw all the gargoyles, and I saw all the sort of bricks that look like black plaided, you know, sort of quilted fabric. And so Manchester's just in my heart. And yeah, it's just I've done a lot in Manchester city centre. I've drank in the wine bars, I've clubbed, you know, I've taken my kids there, you know, like, and I think having that to my children, you know, my three lads, they're adults, but they're very much Mancunians, and they love Manchester. I wouldn't want to live in another city. And yeah, I just think it's in me. I'm a Manc.
That's lovely. Where's your favorite place in Manchester?
My favourite place really is, I do like the art gallery. I like it on Mosley Road. Mosley Street. I do like going there. Just I absolutely love the shop, the stationery, and all the things in there. That's like, I always go in there and buy something. I love that. I like the calmness of it. I like to walk around and see the massive big paintings and wonder how anyone ever even started to plan that one, you know, to sketch it out. So it's I do love that. But I also like to find new places. I just like to sit in sort of new places around what we call the Northern Quarter now, which was with mainly mills and sort of like wholesale places in my youth, but now it's sort of a bit of a trendy place. And finding little cafes and restaurants that you don't know are there. I've just found a lovely South African one on the bottom of Oldham Street. Can't remember its name now, but I just went in for coffee. They took me outside to the back. I saw the menu, and then that was like, oh my God, this is a treasure. So yeah, no particular favorite place. Lots of places that I'm very comfortable in and like to be in and spend time there. And the library.
Library, of course. What's the most important life lesson you've learned?
That it doesn't matter what happens, it'll get better, and it works out. Things work out. So you can be at the most, in the most darkest place, but tomorrow's a new day, and things get better, and you learn to live with decisions, you learn to live with consequences. So, I've lost siblings recently over the past few years, and you think it's the end, but you find something within them that stays with you. So yeah, things get better.
That's a good philosophy. If someone wrote a book on your life, what would they call it?
I don't know. I think one of my managers said that I had an avalanche mind, that it was just full of stuff and it was just poured out, but I knew where everything was. No one else would find it, but I would. So I think avalanche could be a good name for my book. Yeah.
I like that. It's very unusual. I'm going to remember that. Thank you so much, Marie, for talking to me and Meet the Man.
Thank you. Yeah, I've enjoyed it. Thank you.
It's a real pleasure to talk to you today.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Marie, thank you for talking to me and my listeners. I thank you all for listening. I hope you enjoyed the 12th and final episode of the Meet the Mancunian podcast's first season. Tune in every week for a new episode. Do mark the date. The new season of the Meet the Mancunian podcast will launch next week on the 29th of March, 2022, the same Tuesday that you're used to. Thank you.